So I think that one's ready to pick.
The cucumbers here?
It's starting to split, so we'll pull it down off the stem.
Split, isn't it?
Which one is that?
Long Doubt or Nordland?
This is Long of August in French, Long Doute. How do you say Long of August? Long Doubt? Doute. So in Denmark, this fig is made in August.
This is a Breva, right?
And that's the Breva. So they'll grow these figs in Denmark and Norway and get that fig ripen in August, where it's ripening here in mid-May. Then we'll get a second crop that's nice and sweet in July. And they have a leathery skin and don't look pretty, but they're delicious.
Definitely a lot better than that last one.
So how the group started, I was buying blueberries from a nursery, and the local man had them for sale, but he was out. So he told me where I could buy them from a nursery in Forest Hill, and he wanted 20. So when I went to his house to deliver them, he had fig trees all over it, names I never heard of. And through him, I met Vivian. And Vivian was real nice and talked about this little group, Gene, Travis, Nikki, and Ferd. I think they had 4 or 5 of us. And a little introduction. It was a little private group where we'd learn and share. And then I had fig trees for sale, so Carl Pesson came, and we were talking, and the group came up. He wanted to join. He knew Gene and Homa. And then I went to Ferd's house and met Ferd, and we took cuttings from varieties of figs. And Nikki happened to be a child picking pecans on my property through the Thanksgiving vacation.
It's been a while ago because Tinky's no longer a child.
Well, it was just a small world,
Yeah.
you know? And he said, yeah, my Thanksgiving vacation was all about making money for the family and picking pecans. And so he knew Ferd and brought me to Ferd's house. And Travis would send 1 or 2 emails a day and discuss something growing and how to grow. And he was surprised. I had garlic and Nikki had garlic. Carl came and bought something, he joined. And then Pete Soprano came, and we talked about the group. And because it was our world, they didn't have all those Facebook groups. They had one Fig for Fun forum. Then we go to Baton Rouge LSU Field Day in July 2015. I met you there, and Charles, and a couple of others, David Laverne. He was one sharp guy. And then Gordon Castleman was another genius and knew the scientific name for every plant, not just how to identify it, but he knew the Latin for it. So we ended up with, before you know it, I had somebody in Georgia and somebody, you were in Florida. So we had about 21 friends that came together. And Travis put up a website of, was it Our Figs? He made a little website with our figs, and he put different figs we discovered. The Italian in Abbeville that I knew as a kid was the Russo family fig, and he got a few people that came in and joined, and so man, we had this, I guess, addiction, as somebody would call it, and we learned so much from each other.
Yeah.
I was so happy to contribute with 1 or 2 bits of knowledge that someone didn't know. So rain creates hydrogen peroxide. I mean, lightning creates ozone, and the ozone hits the H2O and becomes H2O2, and so that's why rain is so good for plants, so we could make our own hydrogen peroxide solution, and from diseases and variety sharing. You know how good a private group can be.
Just a friends sharing knowledge, and now a lot of those people have passed. And
well, that's what Travis said. He wanted to share the knowledge with a younger generation, And I was thinking, we can get all this off the internet, but there's so much stuff on the internet they got so many opinions and so many schools on the internet. And this was just the Gulf South.
Yeah.
So like my blueberries with Chad Rodrigue and Thibodeau, he said, Terry, don't look at how they prune blueberries in New York or up north in January in the winter. We prune ours in July because we have a longer growing season, so those southern berries will grow. So we learned a lot for our area.
Our region. Yeah.
And
Okay.
it was fun after so and so died here and there, and then the bus driver Travis seemed to have held us all together with his
Yeah.
consistent emails that was turned into a headache for some people.
So the email chain that he's talking about of all these friends that get together and share all these stories and knowledge among each other is not as active as it used to be. But once a year, we still get together and just discuss things and hang out. And although the group isn't really growing, it's still good to come over and reconnect and share all this time together. So we're over here at Terry LeBlanc's house today in Sunset, Louisiana. And all these friends that he's talking about come together once a year. And this year we're doing it back here at Terry's. And he's giving us a guided tour of everything that he's doing here in Sunset. And we're going to bring you along and just give you a little bit of exposure of what's been going on. And I hope you enjoy the video.
This tree was growing at Roy Young's nursery, and he told me the story. It turned out to be a tree I climbed as a kid at an Italian grocery store,
Wow.
the Russo, Mama Joe Russo. And so he had called it Black Mission because it was a black fig, but now it goes by Black Italian with nurseries, but I just added the Black Italian Russo name to it. It was a cutting I put in the ground in January, and by December it was
Wow.
full of figs on every node, starting at 2 inches from the ground, and the leaves all fell off, so it looked like some kind of weird Christmas tree. And to a lot of people that don't know figs, when you start seeing yellow, black, or red, chances are you see the little red tips.
Yeah.
Somebody was posting they had their Celeste tree, and you could see that it was going to be a black fig
Because it had red.
because of the red. From my experience,
That's interesting.
most black figs have that. So that's the Russo.
You know what persimmon this is?
This is a Fuyu,
It's loaded.
and it's holding on.
Yeah.
That one,
Oh wow.
that
That's
one
beautiful.
is maybe 7, 8 years old. A Hachia, it's a big heart,
Oh yeah.
and it's astringent, so you have to eat it soft, let it soft. My wife's family had one growing in North Louisiana. They never ate a persimmon
Really?
because they tasted the hard, beautiful orange persimmon, and
Green.
it dried up their mouth. So they had no idea that you had to eat it soft.
Oh yeah.
After 20 years. So finally, I picked them when I was dating her 40 years ago. And they said, now eat it. And I said, well, not now. What do you mean? So anyway, they learned that. And Kitty fell in love with persimmons. All her life, she thought they were terrible. This is the LSU O'Rourke.
Okay.
It was an improved Celeste, and it was chosen to be named after Dr. O'Rourke. And it came to me labeled as Flanders. And I started waiting for that fig to ripen and the leaf pattern, and Brian Rodrigue told me it's definitely O'Rourke. 5 to 7 lobes on these okra-style leaf fingers.
Yeah.
And it's an improved Celeste that has the best closed eye,
Okay.
and it has a good crop of figs. It was about 15 feet tall and really big when some boars got it. All the figs here are in soil. This hill doesn't have good clay soil. It has clay soil.
Yeah, not good soil.
And no, and so when it rains, the runoff is fast and not deep. So I started putting my mulch from the horse manure, horse shavings all around it,
That's why they look so good.
and that helps a lot. But like Travis says, once you start, the roots aren't going to go deep. That moisture is trapped right underground. It pulls the nitrogen out the ground, so instead of spreading it all around the tree, I'm hitting it on one side.
Oh yeah.
Later on, when it gets more broken down, my lawnmower is going to push it around, like on this one.
Yeah.
And y'all ever heard of air layering satsuma?
I've never seen Satsuma air layers.
I'm going to try it this year. I'm trying it now. Some are water bottles with dirt. And if you want to see, this one is oranges. I hollowed out the orange.
You took an orange and
Put some dirt in it, and I'm going to cut it pretty soon. So as the orange decays, I'm hoping it roots in there. And you see those down there are bananas. I cut a banana and put it and tape the banana to it.
And we'll see if that air layer.
So it's all experimental.
When you cut it, you let me know whether that works or not.
Carl told me it'll work, but they'll be slow growers because they're not put on that root stock that is vigorous growing.
Yeah.
So we got different varieties of figs. That's another Russo. That's an LSU red.
Okay.
It's a vermilion brick, improved Celeste type fig. Let's see if we can find a ripe fig. And sometimes you try to kill a fig tree or move it, and they come back, they resurrect. And sometimes when you want to keep a fig, you can't keep it alive.
I know.
Some of the high dollar ones.
I can't keep Smith alive.
This is, I think, a seedless honey. I think it's Janice. It's a lady's name. Janice is seedless.
Mary Lane.
Mary Lane, maybe.
Yeah.
There you go. You know your figs. And I see some Brebas on here, but they're not close to being ripe. And the LSU Hunt, I moved one by the barn. That's LSU Purple's mother.
Yeah.
I think it was a Dr. Hunt. But anyway, they call it the Hunt fig.
Yeah, I knew that the Hunt played a major role in the LSU fig breeding program.
Well, it was the mother of LSU Purple.
And a few others.
Really?
Yeah.
I know they bred LSU Gold 3 or 4 times before they got the LSU Gold. They got a fig, bred that to something, and got that, and so it was like the the grandchild of the original mother.
Okay.
And then that's an unknown on a Black Bethlehem, which I'm trying to see if Black Bethlehem is like Hardy Chicago.
I don't know.
Because I got a Hardy Chicago over here and a Black Bethlehem there, and I didn't pay attention to, they look pretty much alike.
I think with black figs there.
Oh, look what we got up there.
Oh yeah, look
Oh,
at that.
You want to go grab it?
Man,
Got you a nice breba.
This is,
look at that monster.
grab it off the tree. And Dr. Beal, and some people call it Beal, B-E-A-L-L.
Which one is this?
Beal.
Bill?
That thing's giant.
Is it Bell or Beal?
Wow, that's huge.
And it looks big for this time of year, but that's probably what the world would call a medium-sized fig. You want to open it? Taste it?
We'll share it. Who wants to share?
It's a dark fig. Oh, it's not even ready. It's a
Not
dark
ready yet.
fig that is unusually white on the inside.
Not that good right yet.
No,
Picked it just a little too ripe.
let Justin eat it. Kids eat anything. That one looks even bigger.
Yeah, there's one hanging right there. Yeah.
We'll let it go. It's probably the same as that one.
You need a couple more days.
And then I have a strange fig I call Nordland. It goes by the name of cucumber.
Yep.
Long Doubt,
Long Doubt. Yep.
Long of August.
Yep. Wow, look
Yeah,
at it up
I
there.
cut that one down. That's a greenest, a black Askia.
You trying to kill it?
Look at there. Probably just to see.
It's
So
not ready yet.
I think that one's ready to pick.
The cucumbers here?
It's starting to split, so we'll pull it down off
It
the
is starting
stem.
to split, isn't it?
Which one is that?
Long Doubt or Nordland.
This is Long of August in French, Long Doute. How do you say Long of August? Long Doubt? Doute. So in Denmark, this fig is made in August,
This is a Bariba, right?
and that's the Breba. So they'll grow these figs in Denmark and Norway and get that fig ripen in August, where it's ripening here in mid-May. Then we'll get a second crop that's nice and sweet in July. And they have a leathery skin and don't look pretty, but
That
they're
one was
delicious.
definitely a lot better than that last one.
Long Duke.
Long Doubt.
And it was going by the name of cucumber fig, but a lot of fig people are very picky about names. They'll pay money for an expensive name.
Yeah.
They'll pay a lot of, for a fancy name. It means a lot, especially if it's in a foreign language.
Oh, yeah.
Are you familiar with Bienfej violeta? Bienfej. That means pretty fig. Fej, Bayen, good, pretty, violeta, purple. So, Bienfej violeta, but if you had a pretty purple fig, wouldn't bring too much money. And this is
Everything is in the name.
I call that one Hardly Chicago. Some people might say it Hardy Chicago. Fred Bourne was called by a man who just purchased a residence in Chicago, and he wanted how to protect it. So Fred Bourne went there and he showed him how to protect it for the winter. And later on, it was said that he found it unprotected in Chicago winter. And LSU tested LSU Gold and Celeste to be more cold hardy than Hardy Chicago.
Wow, I've never heard that.
And our friend Robin, he died. He was Ferd's good friend too, an older guy. He had the wrong LSU Gold. It looked like LSU Gold, but it wasn't. It ripened late in August. And he sent hundreds of trees to the north United States as labeled LSU Gold, and they quickly found out it wasn't.
It's not LSU Gold.
It didn't work. So I and other people realized it's not the real LSU Gold. So they thought LSU Gold was not cold hardy, it takes too long. And then this one had borers. Last summer's drought and my illness, I didn't water hardly at all out here, and ambrosia beetles and 3-line borers, so I had to cut things down. Yeah. And even lately, I'm getting wild muscadines, and it's a mess, but that mulch is going to eventually, in a couple of months, I'll be able to mow that. And the best, this is Marseille Black. And this is the Gilbo that turned out to be the same fig. It's an old Louisiana fig from France. And I'm familiar with the name Gilbo. We have a lot of people's last name is Gilbo, like Jones Smith or whatever. And my Gilbo fig turned out to be the same as the Olympian. Olympian was discovered in Washington, and they DNA tested it at UC Davis, Riverside, and they didn't have anything to match their DNA. Well, they didn't have the Gilbo fig over there. And it makes a big Bariba if your tree gets old enough, and a good quality, large size fig, good production. And that was the Pecan Island white honey. Roy Young called it white honey. He found it in Pecan Island, and it's kind of a generic name, white honey. Now I see nurseries have a lot of Italian honey, but there's so many honey figs from Italy. And it was growing wild in Pecan Island on the coast And this is about 30, 40 years ago when he found it. And the man said it was 70 years old at that time.
Wow.
The branches will come and hit the ground and root.
Sure.
And so your actual tree is enlarged by so many branches rooting. But it's amazing it survived all the hurricanes and weather of whatnot. Pecan Island even had a blizzard about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And we didn't get the snow. They got it on the coast. We were kind of jealous, but they had some damage. So that's the one you thought you liked. And we have some pawpaws, and y'all familiar with pawpaws? Not Mama, husband. Lewis and Clark would have starved, I read, without eating the pawpaws.
Oh, wow.
That's a wild thing that grows in the woods.
It's got a lot of protein in it. It's really good for smoothies. It tastes like a banana.
That's
Just
what,
I
that's
wasn't-
what I heard, because I was watching Emmy Made. I like to watch her video. She eats all kind of different fruits and vegetables. And I called my daddy. I said, "Hey, you ever heard of the pawpaw fruit?" He said, "Yep."
Yeah, they're really good.
So yeah, you'd think Lewis and Clark, they said they survived because of the pawpaw. And I'm like, dang, they didn't have possums, rabbits. Well, do y'all want to walk and see another part of the orchard? We were talking about praying and asking the Lord for stuff and how things ended up happening with getting some chickens. Somebody brought us chickens. My daughter wanted chickens. I wanted pots. I wanted a couple of 100 pots. And this guy was praying for somebody to come get his 3,000 pots. So I got 3,000 pots when I wanted a couple of 100. So be careful what you wish for.
Be more specific.
When Randall told me he wanted to video the place, I almost thought about putting on my headlight and getting out with my weed eater last night. I have some areas that can use it.
Don't we all?
And I like that nordling on that terrible soil over there.
Yeah.
So I put a cutting in the ground here. And somebody was asking me the best way to do cuttings. I've always had tremendous success just putting it straight in the ground where I wanted the tree to grow. Because I had a fig friend that had a big orchard in Opelousas, and he died. Nobody had the key to what was labeled. He had 4 different trees in there. And one of them, I don't know what it is. Nobody knew what it is. So his name was Alan Book.
Was that off of 357? Was that off of 357?
Right by James Roban.
My
Yeah.
uncle was the neighbor. My cousin lived next door to him. And I remember seeing that all those figs with the grass growing up. I'm like, man, what's going on? And they told me the man had died. And no one wanted to take over it.
Well, Roban was on the west side of 357, and this one was about a half a mile to the north. 90% of the trees were LSU improved Celeste. And he had an Ithaca in there. When the guy bought it, he didn't have the key. He was from Illinois. He didn't know figs. And they were so crowded, the trees got so big, if you walked in there at 8 o'clock, you couldn't breathe. It was a sauna. And the mosquitoes. And so he would top it, but they'd grow. So that guy ended up dying in a car wreck. And so I had one tree I couldn't identify, and I call it Red Book. His name was Book, and it makes a red fig. It tasted horrible. Oh, it tasted nasty. I'm going to play a joke on my wife. I got a hat full of them, and I was eating improved Celeste. So I'm here, honey, taste these figs. I thought it was a Capri fig, and she takes a bite of a good, pretty ripe red one, and it looks gorgeous on the inside. And she goes, "Oh, wow, cranberry. This is good." I said, "You like it?" Because I don't like cranberry juice.
Right, tart.
And she said, "Oh, yeah, it's good and tart cranberry." So when you tasting figs, the first ones you eat should be not as good as the last one. There's the dead cat. Y'all found it?
Yep, DC6.
Hey, is that one right,
Looks like
Justin?
it.
They're going to pick a dead cat. Oh, he's got one?
This one came from that one.
What is that, Terry?
Sal's Corleone, also known as Palermo Red or Brooklyn Dark.
Okay.
And it's not so white inside. It makes a breba the size of a nice sized plum. I have that tree over there by the, and last year I had about 10 breba that were big. So this is the front part of the property. Unlike the soil, clay soil on the hill, this is an old racetrack, and for 40 years we've been dumping horse manure out here. It's a different soil type. The trees are totally different here. They get huge. I don't water them. I don't care for them. I have to prune them. This is a LSU Improved Celeste.
Wow.
If you want an early, sweet, juicy fig, this is just one of the generic Improved Celeste. It's not the Tiger. The Giant Celeste is another word for it. And it's not the O'Rourke, which is also an Improved Celeste. And we have LSU Purple in the back. So after eating these figs for 2 weeks, you kind of get...
How old are these fig trees?
These trees are maybe 8 years old. Wow. Some of them are, this was 3 years old. I pruned about...
This is a 3-year-old tree?
No, 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
I pruned this one. Some of them are 3. This is a Black Madeira that's 3 years old.
Look at that Black Madeira.
And I had 2 of these up front.
Wow. Is this the Black Madeira KK or just the Black Madeira?
Say again?
Is this Black Madeira KK or just Black Madeira?
Oh, it's just a Black Madeira. It's not a KK. And if you can see the growth with that horse manure and water, this is all new wood.
You got 3 feet of growth on there.
And it was a frost not long ago, so I don't know how, it's not growing as fast as some of the others. This is the old time Southeastern Celeste. It came labeled LSU Improved Celeste. I don't think it's Improved Celeste. I don't know how many Improved Celeste they had, but it's a good old-fashioned grandma's fig, good for canning. Yeah. Last year, many of these trees I have with the drought and the late freeze didn't make figs, but the LSU and the Black Madeira made figs. I planted an Olympian next to my Gilbo. They turned out to be the same.
Oh.
And this year, right now, I was looking for a breba. I picked a couple of them. But you can see this main crop fig is going to be a good size breba, a good size fig.
And this is your Gilbo?
This is a Gilbo, which I believe is identical to the Olympian, if I got the right labeled tree.
Yeah. Look at here.
Not many people heard of Gilbo, but it's an old Louisiana fig from France. This is a Col de Dame Blanc. That's giving me trouble. It's growing good now, but I've been having problems ripening a crop of figs.
Oh, it looks wonderful.
And I cut it down. It fell, and I cut the main thing down, but this is rooting, and this is going to come back and make another tree. I'm thinking about this space is valuable if you wanted a good production.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Black Zador?
Yeah. Yeah.
My Black Zador doesn't like good soil.
It doesn't want to produce.
It wants to grow wood.
Yeah.
And I can find a couple of figs on it.
Yeah, I see some in there, but there's not a lot. It's
No.
not loaded like the other trees.
And you can see how it's a flat fig, and I made 1 or 2, so it's a big fig. It has a little open eye. But I'm getting ready to get rid of this Black Zador if it's not giving me but 20 or 30 figs for all this. I put some cuttings in the ground there. I didn't prune it. So that's more Black Zador. And if we walk around here, this is a gigantic Alma. You can tell the leaves, the duck feet, the way the stem is, and a little bit of white there. So this is definitely an Alma, and now here it goes by the name of Holy Smokes.
Yeah, there's a couple other names out there, yeah.
And then we have the LSU Scots Yellow.
It's
Wonderful
loaded.
early fig.
Yeah, it is loaded up.
And I pruned the top off of it. It was just getting out of hand with this soil. And so that's a great early fig, and people up north ought to have one of those. And
Hardy, isn't it?
Atriano Mediterranean Gold is also growing good and puts out a lot of good big yellow figs.
Yeah.
You can see how
much growth you got on that?
big some of those leaves are. They get bigger, but it has good color here. I don't water, I let it rain, and they grow in the soil. For people that say the Violet de Bordeaux is a good patio fig, I don't know if Miss Figgy is a little miniature, but I have pictures of this tree tall as that telephone pole.
Wow.
It just went straight up instead of spreading. The hurricane knocked it down, so I cut it off, and it's growing back this way. And I pruned it, but last year I didn't prune it, and I had a good crop of breba, big breba. I pruned the heck out of this Stella, which might be a Vasilica Sica, a big green fig. I wouldn't recommend it too much, because some years it'll make a ripe on the front and the back end is still green.
Yeah. It has a little. It's known to not ripen consistently.
This tree doesn't want to grow tall. It was labeled Ithaca.
Okay.
Some people say it's like their California brown turkey. And the breba crop is gigantic, and this tree doesn't want to grow tall. It's really nice at that. You don't need a ladder to harvest it. And it's coming back up. But we'll go take a look at the Smith over here.
Wow, look at that Smith. Look at that. What is that?
Spaghetti squash.
Oh, that's over here on the left.
This right here is, I put cuttings straight in the ground.
Wow.
And
This
it's
cutting
just
bed.
lazy man's way without making pots and all. We take 100 cuttings, put them in the ground. And it looks like I got about 90%. I have a little row here that didn't come up. My daughter's chickens were scratching, throwing. It's funny how the chickens took out all the Smith cuttings.
Yeah.
I put them in pots. This LSU purple
Wow.
was much larger and taller, and I pruned it down a lot. But this thing can grow 10-foot whips in 3 months.
I believe it, because what's it, 30 foot wide?
Yeah, the branches grew, and it's just a pain in the neck to prune.
Yeah.
You fill up a truck with cuttings, and
That's incredible.
it's hard to get in it and prune. I need to really take out the middle. But we got maybe 100 gallons last year. It wasn't anything to pick 5-gallon buckets for a month every morning.
Looking at the size of this tree, Terry, is it beneficial for people to buy a bunch of horses just so they can grow their figs?
If you know somebody with horses, I'm sure they'll love for you to go in there and clean stalls.
Yeah. I only had one thing. I have gotten some horse manure from someone, and it had been treated with aminopyralids. They spray on their pastures to kill the weeds, and so it killed my garden. Yeah.
No, well, we spray the stalls with the permethrin to control flies.
Sure. Yeah.
But then the soil needs about 1 year or 2 years to break down. But I've been, for 40 years, I've been throwing that manure out all around here.
Yeah.
And that's the Violet de Bordeaux over here. Violet de Bordeaux is another common fig. I say common. It's an early ripening with a different flavor. I had people that did not like to eat figs, and they saw this black fig, tasted it, and said they want one.
Yeah.
And
It's a very common fig, but it's a very good fig.
well, I pruned it too, and that's I don't know if you can see. That's about 5 feet of growth in a couple of months.
In a couple of months.
Yeah. What is it? If I pruned it in February, it started growing again.
And here we are in May.
And you can see the 4 feet of growth on the Smith.
Wow.
And it looks like we're going to have a good bumper crop. because all this is going to end up putting out little figs.
Yeah.
If you want to take the camera in here and see a little, see if I can get in. Experiment.
Oh, an air layer?
That's an air layer.
Wow. So you just put a bucket of soil around a root, a shoot.
with the pot. So I'll have those 4x4s at the bottom. I'll move that and chainsaw it off, and probably take 3 feet. It's going to be going to Nevada.
Oh, so this is the one you were telling me about,
Yeah.
the one in Nevada.
And it'll be an experiment. The guy doesn't care what shipping cost is,
Yeah.
but it might be.
Is all of this a Smith?
Yeah, trees were separated. We could walk around after I pruned, but now with the full growth, this is another black Madeira, the same as the one over there, and it's growing over into the vigorous growing LSU Champagne.
Okay.
Champagne is not brandy. It's Dr. O'Rourke's favorite fig. He said if he produced just one fig, this Champagne fig, all his years of research and work was worth it with this one
Just
fig.
that one. I really like it. I have it, and it grows great for me, too.
Sometimes they split some, but you pick them a little before they split too much.
Yeah.
And it didn't do that well on the back.
Mhm.
It did okay, but Boris got it, so I moved it here.
I'm a sucker for a good honey fig, and that's a really good honey fig.
It's different flavors, so after you're used to eating the others, you can come and take a different dessert, so
Yeah.
to speak, you know. And I have a Hardley Chicago. It's an Italian mountain. And then in the back, I have a black Ischia growing up there.
Oh, big figs on that.
And then that, I told you earlier about Alan Book, died, and he had a fig that I thought was horrible. My wife loved it. It tastes like cranberry, tart and sour. So I need to prune more. The growth, you really should have 30 feet apart for a good orchard.
Yeah. For
But
one, if anybody's growing plants your size, they probably need 50 feet apart.
especially if they like that, it's all by itself. And my wife kind of doesn't like it there. It's nah.
All right, guys. So we hope you enjoyed the little video tour and get to see everything that Terry's doing out here. Terry, I greatly appreciate you having the group, cooking for us. We had a nice meal and just a good time of sitting down and fellowshipping and exchanging knowledge.
I appreciate y'all coming all the way over to Louisiana.
I look forward to it every time we get a chance to it.
And everybody that's been here, to those guys that couldn't make it, I'm sorry you couldn't make it. But we're gonna have to do it again when the figs are ripe.
Yeah.
And good and hot and sweaty, but we'll taste a lot of different figs.
We got to sample some today, and I didn't think we were going to get to sample any, but I was surprised that there were ripe figs. And your figs are way further along than mine are in my orchard. Most of yours look like they're getting ready to start turning.
Yep.
Yep. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, share, subscribe. Remember, keep growing, keep building, and always keep adventuring. And together, we're
Flomaton famous.
We'll see you next time.